Emily, a 22-year-old waitress, stepped outside her small downtown diner for a brief break. The day was cold and rainy, the kind that seeped into your bones. She clutched a soggy paper bag holding half of the sandwich she had saved from lunch, her only meal until her shift ended late at night. As she leaned against the brick wall, taking her first bite, something caught her eye across the street. There, under a dripping awning, stood a little girl no older than 6. Her clothes were thin and damp, her shoes untied, and she clutched a battered teddy bear tightly to her chest. The child's wide eyes met Emily's for a moment, silent, scared, and hungry. Without hesitation, Emily crossed the street, knelt in front of the girl, and offered her sandwich with a warm smile. The little girl stared at the food, then at Emily, before gently taking it with a soft, almost whispered, "Thank you." Emily didn't ask questions. She simply nodded, gave the child a reassuring smile, and turned to head back into the diner. To her, it was just a small act of kindness, something anyone should do. What Emily didn't see was the black SUV parked discreetly nearby. Inside sat a man in a sharp suit, watching the entire scene unfold. His eyes stayed fixed on the waitress, his expression unreadable. What Emily thought was a forgotten moment would soon become the turning point of her life, all because of one shared sandwich in the rain. Inside a sleek black SUV parked quietly across the street, Daniel Whitmore sat still, his sharp eyes focused through the rain-speckled window. He was a man of power, wealth, and precision, someone who'd built empires from boardrooms and never missed details. But today, his world had tilted in an unexpected way. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, had slipped from the hotel lobby just moments earlier. She had wandered off, fascinated by the world outside her privileged walls. Panic had gripped him when his security team lost sight of her, but relief came swiftly, because by the time they tracked her down, Daniel had seen everything. He watched the young waitress walk toward his daughter with gentle eyes and no hesitation. She gave her only food to a child she didn't know and expected nothing in return. Daniel's jaw tightened slightly, but he didn't move. He said nothing as Emily walked back into the diner, soaked from the rain, unaware of his presence. The car was silent except for the soft hum of the engine and the patter of rain. The security guard in the passenger seat glanced over, waiting for instruction. But Daniel didn't speak. He just stared at the door where the waitress had disappeared, his expression unreadable, except for a flicker in his eyes that suggested something had shifted deep inside him. For a man who thought he had seen everything money could buy, today he witnessed something rare, pure kindness, offered without a price. The next morning, the diner buzzed with its usual clatter, coffee cups clinking, orders being shouted, and the faint hiss of the griddle in the back. Emily, tired but focused, weaved between tables with practiced ease, balancing plates and pouring coffee refills. She had almost forgotten about the rainy encounter from the day before, until the bell above the door chimed. She looked up and froze. A sharply dressed man in a tailored suit stood just inside the doorway, holding the hand of a little girl. Emily's heart skipped. It was her, the same girl from the street, but now clean, warm, and smiling shyly. The man scanned the room and said, "I'm looking for Emily." Caught off guard, Emily hesitantly approached. The man extended his hand. "I'm Daniel Whitmore," he said calmly. "This is my daughter, Lily." Emily blinked, confused. "I saw what you did yesterday," he continued. "Not many people give away their only meal. Especially not to a stranger's child." He reached into his coat and handed her a business card and a sealed envelope. Inside was a letter, offering her a fully funded scholarship to the college she'd once dreamed of attending. Tucked behind it was a check for $25,000. Emily's hands trembled. She glanced from the paper to Lily, then back to Daniel, speechless. Her knees nearly buckled. She had no idea a single sandwich could lead to this. In a world where so much felt heavy, this moment was weightless, proof that compassion could ripple far beyond what the eye could see. Later that morning, the rush had calmed, and Emily found herself sitting across from Daniel in a quiet booth tucked in the corner of the diner. The little girl, Lily, colored quietly beside them while the grown-up spoke over warm coffee. Daniel's polished exterior had softened now, his tone thoughtful and calm. He looked around the modest diner, then back at Emily. "You remind me of someone," he said. "My late wife. She used to say real wealth was measured by what you gave, not what you kept." Emily listened, still reeling from the morning's events. She learned that Daniel hadn't always been a millionaire. "I grew up with nothing," he admitted. "There were days we didn't eat. I still remember the people who showed us kindness, and the ones who didn't." He leaned in slightly, voice low but sincere. "When I saw you kneel and offer your only meal to Lily, without knowing who she was, it brought something back I thought I'd lost. Hope." Daniel then slid another envelope across the table, this one not with money, but with something more. "This is an offer," he said. "A position at my foundation. You'd be helping people, just like you helped Lily. And I'll mentor you personally, if you're willing." Emily's eyes welled with tears. She had expected nothing from her simple act of kindness, yet here she was, offered not only help, but purpose. In a world that often forgets those who give, Daniel hadn't. And now, neither would she. The sun rose gently over the city, casting a golden glow on the Whitmore Foundation building, a place once unknown to Emily, now the center of her new life. Dressed in a smart blazer and wearing a staff badge with her name, she stood outside the front entrance, watching vans pull up and families begin to arrive. Children laughed as volunteers handed out warm meals, clothes, and school supplies. Some clutched stuffed animals, others held tightly to their parents' hands. Emily's gaze lingered on a little girl holding a sandwich with both hands, eyes wide with the same wonder she had seen in Lily that rainy day. She stepped back for a moment, soaking in the scene. A breeze passed, carrying the scent of spring blossoms and something deeper, hope. Her eyes glistened, not just from the memory of where she came from, but from the joy of where she now stood. She had gone from barely affording her next meal to leading programs that fed hundreds. The journey hadn't been about luck or charity, it had been about kindness. One sandwich. One moment of choosing compassion over comfort. That was all it took to change everything. As she joined the other coordinators to greet the families, Emily smiled with a full heart. She wasn't just working a job. She was living her purpose. And with every meal she helped provide, she paid forward the ripple of that one rainy afternoon, proving that kindness, no matter how small, always finds its way back.